Driving tests have one object, to make our roads safe, and the examination is not an inquisition.
Mirror signal manoeuvre, 90 years since the first driving test. Today's learners say booking a slot is now the main roadblock to getting a licence. Well, this week marks 90 years since the introduction of formal driving tests. But today, learners are facing record delays to get a date in the diary. The latest figures show that at the end of April, there were more than 600,000 people who'd booked a slot but were still waiting to sit a test. Here's Tim Muffet.
Driving tests have one object, to make our roads safe, and the examination is not an inquisition.
The driving test is 90 years old.
And here's the correct signal for "you may pass me."
But this is a birthday with bumps in the road. In 1935, Ford released this film to help those taking the new compulsory driving test. 90 years on, Millie, who is 19 and studying in Liverpool, is one of thousands who've struggled to get a test.
I started driving when I was 17, and then about a year and a half ago, maybe a bit later, I was trying to book a test. You get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's just you're waiting and waiting, and there's just nothing available. Driving is a life skill. It shouldn't be this much of a struggle to be able to book a test.
Mark Bourne is from the AA driving school.
Hey, Tim, if you'd like to drive on when you're ready.
It's 35 years since I took my test, and it's changed a lot since then.
Big changes: introduction of the theory test, introduction of hazard perception test, independent driving, so following the sat-nav or road signs.
There is a huge backlog, isn't there, of people wanting to get tests but being unable to do so.
Why is it so hard to get a test at the moment?
Feels a little bit crazy because it's 5 years since the start of the COVID pandemic, but it's because of the backlog that was built up there, and over the last 5 years that hasn't been able to be shifted.
New data shows the average waiting time for a driving test is now more than 21 weeks. 79% of UK test centres have candidates facing waits of 24 weeks, which is the maximum.
We're seeing more anxiety and stress and people just failing for silly things because they're not able to cope under the pressure.
David Walmsley's been teaching driving in Liverpool for 20 years. He's never seen his students so stressed.
They're constantly thinking, if I don't pass, how long am I going to be waiting? You know, obviously.
For David, it's not just bots that are the problem, it's humans, or lack of them.
We need instructors, maybe 50% more examiners. You have more examiners, you're able to have more tests.
I don't think it's being taken seriously.
After a year and a half of trying, Millie has secured a driving test in July.
I'm afraid if I don't pass that, then I'm going to have to wait another year or God knows how long for another test. I'm desperate to be able to drive.
Last week, the Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency launched a public consultation. It wants to combat bots which buy up test slots. It will consider banning learners from swapping slots or switching locations. The DVSA said its goal is to make booking a driving test easier and fairer for everyone, while preventing excessive charges for learner drivers. In 1935, the driving test pass rate was 63%. Now it's 49%. But for many, the challenge isn't passing the driving test, it's getting one. Tim Muffet, BBC News.